So here it is at last, hidden in this bag, the cheap camera for the cheap camera challenge. The target, if you remember, was to spend no more than £20 sterling on a camera which must work, be a minimum of 10 megapixels, have a mode dial so you can choose the aperture priority mode, shutter priority mode, manual, whatever, be able to shoot in RAW format, and to be honest, to tick all those boxes meant quite a long wait. One of the cameras that immediately sprang to mind was the Panasonic LX5. Now, I thought they might be a bit out of my price range, and yes, I was proved right. So I looked further back to the LX3, and again, even those way off what I thought. This example, which I'll put on screen now, made £78, way above my budget. I then came across its older brother, the LX2, which isn't quite as good quality as the 3, and they were still managing to scrape over the £20 threshold. This example, which again I'll put on screen, wasn't in the best of conditions, and that made £23.50. Close, but no cigar. Also in my list was a very similar camera to the LX3. If you know anything about the Panasonic LX3, you know that Leica made their own version, using basically the LX3 with a few of their own additions. The Leica Deluxe 3, as it's called. Yep, one of those was in my watch list for quite some time, even 24 hours off the end of the auction. It was still sat there at about £16, and yeah, I thought it was going to be a fairy tale ending, and I think it went over for something like 105 in the end. Ouch. It was a similar story with this Olympus XZ1, a 10 megapixel camera, sort of point and shoot style body, similar to the sort of RX 100 type of style camera. Untested, no battery or charger with it. It did have its original box, but yeah, it made £84.52 for the British Heart Foundation, which is very good for them, but I'm not sure how good a camera that is when it's missing half the stuff it needs to function, and it's not been tested. Canon produced the PowerShot range and the G9 and G10 and 11s. Again, I considered these. Again, they proved a bit too popular for my budget. This G9 and G10 made £35.25 and £38 respectively, and yep, way out of my price range. So what did I settle on in the end? Well, I was determined not to buy another bridge camera. I do have quite a good bridge camera, budget model, but it still shoots quite well and can shoot RAW and all those 4K video, so I wasn't looking particularly for a bridge camera. If one came up and it was within the price range, then yes, I would have taken it. But a lot of bridge cameras in this price bracket wouldn't shoot RAW, and some of them, like the Samsung WB100 or whatever it is, and the Nikon L series, for example, don't even have mode dials and are basically a large point and shoot. Instead, I decided to look for similar cameras to the LX5, the Sony RX100 series. Fantastic camera, but again, too expensive for me. As I've said before, the Canon G9s, G10s fitted the spec, but again were too rich for my budget. However, Canon did produce another camera at the same time as the G10 and 11, which used the same size sensor, which is a 1/1.7 of an inch sensor, and that's larger than your average compact camera or bridge camera. In addition to that, this particular camera was fitted with a faster lens than the G11, which was a 2.8 I think, and this camera has a 2.0 lens. It was considered by Ken Rockwell on his website to be the best advanced compact camera available at the time. Its only two replacement models, according to Ken, eclipse it, and they were the 90 and 100. If you haven't guessed yet, it's the Canon S90. So why is the Canon S90 such a good camera? Well, it packs in a bigger than average sensor. The sensor size is bigger than most compact and bridge cameras still have in them today in 2020. It's a CCD sensor, which are generally accepted as being a more expensive and better quality sensor than the CMOS variety. Okay, it's not backlit like more modern sensors are, but we're talking about a budget camera and one that is at least a decade old. Point 2, the lens. As I've said before, it's a fast lens, 2.0, and lets in a great amount of light, which is handy for shooting with that large sensor. So at low light it's slightly better than your average compact or bridge camera, and also that the 2.0 means you can get a nice short depth of field even with a small sensor. Point number 3, it shoots RAW. Yep, tiny little camera and you can shoot in RAW mode. This is handy. If you don't shoot in RAW, you just shoot in JPEG, then you probably haven't understood the benefits of shooting in RAW. I mean, you can recover quite a lot of detail in comparison to a JPEG using the RAW files in Photoshop or Lightroom or similar. So being able to shoot in RAW, very handy in my opinion. Point number 4, it's got a mode dial. Now, you knew I wanted one, and that's because I do enjoy shooting in aperture priority a lot, and I've got that option with this camera, so that's great news as far as I'm concerned. And number 5, it's got ring dials. Now, if you're not sure what I'm talking about this little dial on the front, which you can turn. It's got one on the back as well, so you can adjust things like your white balance, your focus, your aperture, your ISO, basically whatever you desire. Number 6, it's absolutely tiny. So you can see from the dimensions of the camera, easy to handle, put in your pocket, take anywhere with you. I think that's fantastic. It's actually quite well constructed. It's quite a weighty little beast. Seems quite a lot of metal in the construction of it. Seems very similar to the Nikon 1 that I already own. It has a similar solid feel about the buttons, and the just general construction of the camera seems great. Not plasticky at all. Fantastic. So the most important question, of course, for a budget challenge, what did it cost? Well, this premium compact camera that would have cost an arm and a leg last decade cost me an astonishing £16. Yep, 16 quid. Bargain. Not only that, but it also came with a USB charger, the battery, memory card, albeit only 2 GB, and this rather natty soft case to go with it. You can see me on the streets with this right now, can't you? Now, if you remember back a few months ago, I tested this absolute load of garbage camera from China, and in fact I paid £3 more for this camera than I did for this little Canon. So I think once again this demonstrates that if you shop around, if you're prepared to wait a little bit for the right camera to come along, there are much better cameras out there than just buying any old trash off eBay. So now that I have the camera, now I've got to decide what kind of shooting project I'm going to take this camera on. Given it's quite discreet and quite small. In the present climate, I'm thinking street photography, as it's going to be fairly inconspicuous and hopefully I won't attract too much unwanted attention. So should be able to get some street photography shots with this little camera. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time in the next video where I shall be out using this little camera. In the meantime, if you've not seen episode 1, I'll be putting a link up to that one up here, and one of my street photography videos on the other side, so you can see the type of shots I'll be trying to achieve in the next video. Catch you later. Bye for now. Have a good day.